The Pittsburgh Steelers have made some roster moves. So this week, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they signed a player to their active roster. They've also placed a player on injured reserve, and they signed another player to their practice squad. But first, before I get more into it, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. Also, make sure you like this video. Now, let's get right back into it. So, this week has been a little bit of a busy week for the Pittsburgh Steelers and Omar Khan because they have made multiple roster moves on Tuesday. And one of them included signing CJ Henderson, cornerback, to their active 53-man roster. And this may not seem like a big deal, but Henderson apparently was getting called around by other NFL teams. Per Ian Rappaport, other teams were calling around trying to sign CJ Henderson to their active 53-man roster, but I guess Henderson and his team and his crew gave the Steelers a heads up, and the Steelers did not want to lose him, so they decided to sign him immediately to their 53-man roster to remain on the team. And this came on Tuesday, so in a corresponding move, that means the Pittsburgh Steelers had to either release a player or place a player on injured reserve. And that's what they did. They placed a player on injured reserve, and that player was defensive tackle Montravius Adams Sr. He is officially on the injured reserve list and out at least the next 4 weeks. But that didn't conclude all the moves the Pittsburgh Steelers made on Tuesday alone. They've also signed defensive tackle Braden Fiocco to the practice squad. And also, just today, the Pittsburgh Steelers opened the destination window for inside linebacker Tyler Medikevich, meaning that he has a 21-day window to return to the active 53-man roster and be activated from injured reserve, or else he is lost for the season. What this means is he has 21 days to practice, so the practice window is officially open on him. And if he returns within the 21 days, that means the Pittsburgh Steelers will have to make another corresponding move to allow an open spot on the roster to be freed, whether that's cutting someone else or placing another player on injury reserve. So now that those are all the moves, let me just go through each one individually. And let's start off with CJ Henderson. Because Henderson, he is now signed to the active roster, and he was originally drafted in the first round of the 2020 NFL Draft, the 9th overall pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has appeared in 49 games, he started 32 in his career, and has recorded 172 tackles, 139 of them being solo stops. He has 16 pass defense, 6 tackles for loss, 3 interceptions, 2 forced fumbles, and a sack, and also a fumble recovery. So that was his year and a half alone with Jacksonville, and his career in Jacksonville was actually cut short because a year and a half later, since he was drafted, he was actually traded to the Carolina Panthers in early 2021 season, and he was with them through the 2023 season. He played in 12 games for them, and he started 7 and finished the season in 2023 with 39 tackles, 31 solo stops, 3 tackles for loss. And then he signed with the Houston Texans in 2024. And then he was just out of the NFL. Not out of the NFL entirely, but like out of the NFL in terms of active roster and actually playing. And that's actually crazy for a first-round draft pick who has been in the league for only 4 seasons now. You would think someone who was a 9th overall pick, not really injured too much, is not going to be out of the league. But he has been out of the league in terms of not playing football. And you look at guys like Artie Burns, who the Pittsburgh Steelers selected in the first round, however many years back, a decade plus. You look at him, and he's still in the league with the Seattle Seahawks, and he's playing games for them. He was not a good quarterback with the Steelers. He hasn't really been one in the league, but he still has a job. So it's really rare to see CJ Henderson, a 9th overall pick just back in 2020, 4 years ago, is not on a team and hasn't been on the team for a season. And the Steelers, they scooped it up. The Steelers signed him to the practice squad earlier this season, and now he's elevated to the main roster because other teams are calling around for him. So hopefully now he's able to show out with the Pittsburgh Steelers when given the opportunity and show out and be proven why he was a 9th overall pick. That skill is not lost. He was a 9th overall pick in the first round for a reason. It may not have worked out. He was on one of the worst teams in Jacksonville. He was with one of the worst teams in Carolina. So hopefully now with the Steelers and their type of defense, they're able to turn it around, and he's able to use his skills that he showed out and the reason why he was a 9th overall pick. So Henderson, he is now a Pittsburgh Steeler main squad player, and we might see him on Sundays, Mondays, or Thursdays in the actual game. So you look at another move the Pittsburgh Steelers made. Like I said, they placed Montravius Adams on injury reserve, and it's a shame because Montravius Adams was having a really good season for the Steelers, and he's had good seasons in the past, but it seems as though he just can't stay healthy. He seems like whenever he starts getting it going, he suffers an injury, and that's what happens once again this season, as Montravius Adams will be out the next 4 weeks at least with an injury, as he was placed on injury reserve just on Tuesday. But like I said, because he was injured and he was placed on injury reserve, that opened up a roster spot, which allowed the Steelers to sign CJ Henderson to the main roster. So also let's look at the practice squad signing real quick. The practice squad signed Breiden Fehoko. He originally signed with the Steelers as an unrestricted free agent prior to the 2023 season. And me personally, I thought he was going to be the main squad type of guy in 2023 when we signed him in the offseason, but it just didn't work out. The Steelers cut him at the end of training camp, at the end of preseason, but then he spent time on the Steelers practice squad as well. And ever since that point, he's been on and off the Steelers practice squad many times. Fehoko started the 2023 season, like I said, in the Steelers practice squad, was promoted to the 53-man roster, but he was later released, signed to the practice squad again, elevated, released. So he's just been up and down with the Steelers, but at least he's found a spot on the Steelers squad as someone who they could rely on if they need someone on their team. So Fehoko has played in 19 career games, and he started 4 of them in his career, and he's a player who the Pittsburgh Steelers obviously like enough to keep bringing back. So that's enough on that signing. Now let's move over to Tyler Matakevich. Like I said, the Steelers opened his practice window for him. He has 21 days to be activated to the main roster, or else he's out for the season. So with him, it's a little bit tricky because the Pittsburgh Steelers have depth at the inside linebacker spot, and their special teams has been playing really good recently. Even though Tyler Matakevich is the special teams ace, the Steelers special teams has playing really well, even without him. So it's going to be really hard for the Steelers to find a person to cut to sign him back to the main roster eventually. They probably will end up finding someone, but Tyler Matakevich, he is a special teams ace. He can help the special teams even more. He's not really playing at all inside linebacker, so are you really going to keep someone who doesn't play defense at all and is only special teams? We're going to have to wait and see with him, but he is returning to practice this week. Now, one more thing I want to touch on before I end this video. I mentioned someone coming back in Tyler Matakevich, open the practice window. Soon we're going to get to see Corey Trice probably do the exact same thing because he was injured with a hamstring injury. He was placed on injury reserve, and he's been out a while now. So it's going to be interesting to see him back very, very soon because it's a hamstring injury. Usually those take 4 weeks. So once he's off of injury reserve, it's going to be interesting to see if he moves straight back in to that spot that he was in as a third cornerback because he was playing really, really well before his injury, but then he went down. So even though I mentioned Tyler Matakevich, how it's going to be hard to find a spot for him, I believe Corey Trice, the Pittsburgh Steelers, if he could stay healthy, could be a big deal. He hasn't returned to practice yet. That window has not been opened. So when it is, though, it's going to be interesting to see how he is utilized in this defense as just another cornerback and another depth piece and another huge playmaker on this team. So, with that being said, those are the roster moves for the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, heading into Week 8 versus the Giants. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about each of them. CJ Henderson being signed to the main roster, Breiden Fehoko being signed to the practice squad, and also Montravius Adams being on IR, and Tyler Matakevich practicing this week. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below all 4 of those. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports, everything coverage of the Pittsburgh Steelers I do, and it's here on the channel. So stay tuned to this channel. turn notifications, like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.